I'm thinking of a mix like chicken soup, a clear broth chicken soup. I can see what's in it. It makes me feel more comfortable that I know what's in the soup rather than a puree or a stew. I can't see the beef in the stew. I see a carrot. That's kind of what a mix is like when it just gets all mumbled jumbled. It becomes a volume war. I want to hear my vocal, but the guitar player is right next to me. He keeps turning up. So the easiest answer to get a clean mix while you're performing is this. Next slide. In-ear monitors. The strength of an in-ear monitor is that it isolates you away from all that sound. And if you're a musician, you want to take care of your hearing. The more you're exposed to louder levels for longer periods of time, the more your ears are going to get damaged. It's usually not one spike, one instant slam of sound that hurts your hearing. It's staying in a certain amount of volume for a duration of time. If you're doing multiple services on your worship team, if you're playing in clubs 4 or 5 nights a week, just take a look at Pete Townsend. I mean, he doesn't have any hearing left. Of course, we didn't have in-ear monitors when we were growing up. We had to listen to each other, which a lot of worship teams don't do either anymore. That's a whole other story. I'm not here for a band arrangement class, but I can hear what I want to hear in my earphones rather than trying to fight against what's coming at me from the stage. There's 2 types of earphones. One on the right is called a universal, which anybody can wear, and they're more affordable. And then the one on the left is a custom, and I represent Ultimate Ears, which is probably the most prolific custom in-ear company, 5 minutes, in the country, if not the world. And they're out of California. And what you would do with these is you would go to an audiologist and they'd put some goop in your ear, make an impression. They would send it to UE, and they have custom earphones that start at $399, which is actually less expensive than some competitive universal 2-way systems. And what they'll do is they'll give you a perfect seal, which is a strength and a weakness. Next slide. We'll get next slide. Next slide. Some performers really want to hear the room, especially if you're a worship leader, you want to hear them singing. So you see people pulling an ear out. Got a loud stage? Don't do that. We got to have at least a 10 dB mask over ambient sound from what we want to hear. So if I've got a stage that's 100 dB coming into this open ear, what does this ear with the earphone have to have in it? 110 dB. You're killing the ear with the earphone. You're keeping them both in. I've reduced my ambient noise by 20 dB, and I can actually listen at a monitor level that's quieter than the stages. I can do that forever. Singers have a hard time getting used to them at first because they hear themselves so well that they undersing. So if you're an engineer for that, you want to probably back off on their volume a little bit so they project. But it's the first time they'll hear themselves so clearly. And maybe that's when they'll start realizing they need some vocal lessons. I don't know. All right, so how do we fix the ambient situation? How do I hear the room? Next slide. I'm going to bring in a couple of mics. Next slide. And I'm going to aim them at the audience, left and right, stereo. Make sure you orient them properly in the church. Make sure the left mic is aiming to the left side of the sanctuary or the club that you're in, right over here. Because if somebody yells hallelujah from over here and it's coming out of this ear, I'm going to get all messed up. You want to orient them properly. Next slide. You could also do what's called an XY configuration, which eliminates some of your phase interference, but that's another class too. Arrange your keyboards. If you guys want to be inspired and you're not a keyboard player, check out Arranger keyboards. They're not like the ones that were in the malls years ago, the cheesy sounding things. I mean, these things have real professional samples in them now. They sound like real pianos, real strings, real pads, authentic drums. They're the kind of thing where if you're a guitar player and you just want a backing arrangement, you can just program in the chords you want. D minor, G, A, back to D minor, C. Let a loop go. Change the style from salsa to merengue to Latin to rock. Change the instrumentation, sequence it. These all have voice processors in them now too. You put a mic into it, it gives you harmonies from TC Helicon, which is one of the best harmonizer companies. The plugins that are in this thing are from Waves, arguably one of the best plugin companies for DAWs. They have Waves plugins in this keyboard. 2 minutes, gotcha. So check those out on the Korg website. And last slide, HK Elements. Think of this as a PA system like Legos. They're just like Legos. They don't use cables. You can eliminate your speaker stands, your power amps, and everything. And they scale. So if you're just playing for small rooms right now, 70 people, you buy one of the little stacks. When your system needs to grow to 500 seats, and you can still fit the system in your Mini Cooper, that's what you can do with this. Unlike some of the other competing line arrays, like Bose L1s, for instance, they don't scale. With the same 6 elements, I can go from 50 people to 500 and put a rock band through the big system, 3,600 watts with 8 subwoofers, and it fits in the back of my Mini Cooper. And my 12-year-old can carry it in with no sweat. If you want more information on it, I got it out here. Make sure you sign up. Thanks for your time.